I didn't love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hype yourself up, and nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have Welcome back to Ascension with V. My name is Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today I'm going to talk about something that was requested, but also something that I have personally dealt with firsthand. And I might get emotional, might not, might take some twists and turns, but nonetheless, it's going to be a deeply personal and hopefully inspiring episode. And the topic at hand is essentially addiction, self healing, and self forgiveness, and ultimately how to get back to having self worth for yourself after you've kind of hit the rock bottom. And I always say in joking manner, but not joking at the same time, that rock bottom is a bottomless pit. And just when you think that you've hit your lowest point, somehow a new crevice opens up and it's like, oh, but wait, there's more, right? You can go further down into the abyss. So, how do you get back to forgiving yourself? How do you get back to having self worth or even the thrive or the drive to want to change your life when you think that there's just no getting back, there's no going back, there's no getting out because you just think you've burned too many bridges, or you just think that you've done too much, or you just think that what's the point, because my life is meaningless anyways. And these are all things that I have thought at one point in time in my life. And so I'm going to speak on some real shit. I'm going to speak on some things that I have dealt with that I've not verbalized on my podcast before. I think many of you guys have heard me say many a times that I was on a lot of medications throughout my 33 years of life due to a lot of misdiagnoses and not knowing exactly what was the cause of a lot of the comorbidities that I was dealing with throughout my lifetime. Now we know is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And with that, it comes with a lot of different moving pieces to that puzzle that have affected me, and throughout the confusion caused me to see a number of doctors and be put on a lot of medications and have a lot of different surgeries. I think I've had 15 surgeries thus far in my 33 years of life. And so it's been rough, it's been brutal. But my point in saying this is that there have been a lot of medications that have entered my system that had an addictive effect to it. And there were a lot of side effects to medications that had addictive effects that, it left me in a state of having to go through withdrawals for medications that I was no longer taking. And then some of the side effects were causing me to have insomnia, just not being able to sleep at all, literally not getting sleep for weeks. Maybe I would get an average of 7 hours of sleep in a week, and it was brutal, it was rough. So at one point in time, I was addicted to sleep medication. I was on a sleep medication for a long period of time, and I realized that I was in trouble with it. I guess I would say maybe like 6 months in, because I couldn't get to sleep, number 1, without it, and number 2, I loved how it felt to not be connected to my body, to not be trapped and confined into this vessel, to not feel like I was just constantly suffering, constantly in pain, constantly anxious. As a person who has spiritual gifts and abilities, like it's an overwhelming burden to be able to feel everything so magnificently, so grandly all the time, to be so connected to everyone and everything all the time. It's a beautiful thing, but it is also a heavy burden to have. Especially at that time, I didn't know how, because I was still on all the medications, I didn't know exactly what they were or how to manage them because, again, I didn't know. So everything was just consuming me. People's energy was consuming me. Things that were happening within my family unit were consuming me. The anger, the rage, the frustration, the sadness, the depression, the anxiety, like it was just bearing down on me so heavily that the moment that I got this medication in my system, I remember it vividly when I disconnected from my body, and it reminded me of that scene from Doctor Strange where she, like, kicked him out into his astral body, and it was, like, kinda that slow-mo of him kinda falling back. That's what it felt like for me, and it was that I think that was the first glimpse that I had into other realms, other dimensions, or whoa, this is what it's like to no longer be here in this whatever this construct is that we're in, the earth playground, the earth training ground, the earth video game, for lack of better words here. I got the firsthand experience of not being confined to this vessel, to not being burdened with all the aforementioned things. I felt calm, I felt at peace, I felt happy and content, and I was like, this is what it's like to not feel those emotions, and even though I was on a series of antidepressants throughout that time, nothing made me feel the way that the sleep medication made me feel. I knew I was in trouble then because I liked it and I didn't want to be off. It's not even just that I didn't want to be off it. If I wasn't off of it, I wasn't sleeping. So literally it was to the point to where literally my body had gotten used to, okay, this is what we use to go to sleep, but I wasn't even really sleeping, at the time. I was just, I was out, wherever, kind of like a zombie-like state. My conscious mind was asleep or suppressed, but my subconscious mind was very much active, and it was kind of the same way when I was in the hospital for 15 days after I had my ileorectal anastomosis, my colon removal surgery. And I was, like, connected to the pain pump thing. I would kinda, like, pass out for a little while and then, like, wake back up and consciously be out, but very subconsciously active, and, it was bizarre for my mom and the nurses to kinda see where, like, I was very not there, but very there at the same time. So it was kind of like this, like, yes, I was sleeping, but, like, subconsciously, I was ramped up. I was doing a whole lot of things, and I can still vividly remember every little adventure that I went on while I was on the sleep medications, and I yeah, no regrets, really, honestly, at this point. I've gotten to the point of no regrets for it because now I have an immense amount of compassion and empathy for those who are in that same boat, but have yet to find their willpower to get off of the medication. So the sleep medication was my thing, and again, kind of getting back onto the topic of it, I got to the point to where I was going to bed earlier and earlier and earlier just so that I could take the medicine, and then, like, and again, also is like red flag there, and but it got to the point to where, like, I was doing some wild stuff, like, while I was on the medication, and, it became dangerous where one time, like, I was definitely zombie driving my car, and after that, I was like, "I've gotta get off of this." Nothing happened, I was very highly protected, but it was enough to kind of give me the wake-up call of like, "Oh my god," like, I could've that could've been bad, that could've been so hugely bad. And to top it all off, at the time, I was dating a guy that, it was such a not great relationship. It was great, but it wasn't kind of that, like, it was wrong, but it was right type of situation, and he had his own shit that he was going through with drugs and things, and part of me would be lying if I said that I wasn't trying to stay down with him. Again, this was before I had gotten to where I'm at now, and we know, we only taking willing participants over here. We only saving people who wanna save themselves. Hindsight, right? But so at the time, the snowball effect of everything was very much just, there was a lot of different factors of where I was like, I wanna, get off of this. I need to get off of this medication and I need to make a change, but I like, do I have it in me to do that? And along that course, I started weaning myself off of the sleep medication, and that was fine. But then once I was finally off of the sleep medication, it took me about 6 or 7 months to fully get off of it. I then was like trying to find something to replace that with. subconsciously, right? And it was, again, because I was suffering so much internally. For me, being on antidepressants and things like that, it didn't take the pain, internal pain away, or the suffering or the agony of the trauma or anything that I had experienced away from me because I hadn't done the work, right? The issue was still there, but the medications was just kind of like numbing and like masking it. But the issue's still there, building and building and building and building and building and bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up, right? Until it essentially reaches the overflow line, and then you have like a kamikaze effect of emotions of like an outburst of a breakdown, and my build up to that. Sorry, I keep, like, coming off, but I'm trying to tell it as authentically as possible, but so I was on the medications and was doing nothing but essentially just, again, masking the things because I hadn't done any inner work, I hadn't done any shadow work, I hadn't done any inner child work, so all of these things had just built to, like, a snowball effect, so I was still trying to find a way to escape my reality. I was still trying to find a way to escape the feelings that I was dealing with. I was still trying to find a way to escape the overwhelming energy and emotions of others that I was feeling that I didn't know how to handle, that all the things. And then not only that, but another layer on top of it was I was trying to mask that I was neurodivergent, that I had all this going on, and I was trying to just like, so I'm suppressing the fact that I have spiritual gifts. I'm suppressing the fact that I'm neurodivergent. I'm suppressing the fact that I'm depressed. I'm suppressing the fact that I was having suicidal thoughts. Like outwardly, I'm like, everything's fine, everything's fine. And just becomes too much. It becomes way too much. And this is why my addiction really honestly was to the escapism. It was me trying to just find a way to be like, I got to do something with this. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, who are addicted to substances or whatever the case may be, overworking or trying to escape the silence, trying to fill every block of their schedule with something so that they don't have to sit with their thoughts or their feelings or their emotions, or addicted to sex because the endorphins and the oxytocin and the pleasure that, takes away for a brief moment, takes away the pain and the suffering or the reality of what is, you know, whatever the addictions are. I feel that the ground foundation of it is trying to escape your circumstances, trying to escape what you're feeling, trying to escape your decisions, the things that you've done in your past. So then my next target was I discovered I discovered alcohol when I moved to Ohio. And it was really rough having to, be away from family and then dealing with everything with the doctors and then finding out, that I had to have my colon surgery and then the endometriosis and then ultimately finding out later on down the road that I was gonna have to lose an ovary. And then the talks later on down the road came from of like, oh, you're gonna have to have like a partial hysterectomy, and like so much stuff was happening while I was up in Ohio. And so my next target was the alcohol phase. So I went through like a good 2.5 year phase of my life, um, where I was in danger. I was in danger because, I could say honestly to this point that I didn't care anymore. And that's a terrible, terrible place to be. Like it's a terrible place to be because, once you get to that point of being like, F it, you're liable to do anything, because you have had an overage of what you can handle. And your mind goes on like the complete numb mode. For me, that's how it was. It like went on the complete numb mode. So I had a lot of like self-harm issues, and it was because it takes away the focus of the internal pain, right? If you can focus on like the physical pain, then I wasn't focused on the internal pain or the external circumstances that were causing my internal pain. So the root cause was, again, always trying to escape the things that I was feeling but couldn't express or deal with, or didn't know how to express or deal with at the time. And I had nobody that I could talk to. Like, I was seeing a psychiatrist and things there, but they were the ones, again, that were putting me on the medications. And I think the medications were also kind of causing a lot of my issues, definitely with the self-harm stuff, or the suicidal thoughts kind of thing. But it was just me, it was just me trying to get through it, and, me and the alcohol. So I went on the bender phase. It started out moderate, kind of like a lot of everything does, right? Like, it started out very moderate, but then when I moved back to Knoxville, like, it was rough when, again, once I found out that I wasn't gonna be able to have kids naturally, I tanked. I tanked, and it was honestly, like, the 2-year period after the year period after I moved back to Knoxville, after everything that I had gone through, and then this coming back, and the health stuff is still a dumpster fire, and then them being like, "Oh, so we're gonna take the ovaries." It was I just like I said, F it times 10." I made really questionable decisions. I always say, like, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I haven't in almost 3 years now. So, like, when people ask me why, I say the reason why I don't drink alcohol anymore is because I remember that year. Now, don't get me wrong, I had fun. I turned up. When I went to the abyss, I said, "I'm gonna commit to this abyss." I'm gonna commit to this abyss ride. I'm gonna experience all the things, the good, the bad, the highs, the lows. Nothing will be unturned this lifetime, just so that I can sit here with you today to tell you, look, I get it because I was there. I did the things, trial and error, I understand it. So I had fun. I turned up, I learned a lot about the abyss. I learned a lot about the dark. I learned a lot about my darkness and my shadow self. And while I got my ass whooped, both physically and spiritually during that time, no regrets. But I did make a lot of questionable decisions as far as people that I hooked up with, or like people that I gave my love or care or time and attention to. But no regrets, honestly. Everything is a destined choice. Everything is a lesson. Everything is a chance and an opportunity for growth. But it took me a long time to get to this point of feeling that way, because I I was really, really hard on myself, and I still am. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm always gonna be very transparent and upfront with you guys. It felt, especially as I started healing, right? I started feeling so bad about abandoning myself, abandoning my morals, or my standards, or my boundaries. Oh, I should have said no to this. Or I should have fought harder or pushed back on that. Or, I should have stood up for myself more then. Oh, I shouldn't have took that, or I shouldn't have allowed that person to say or do that to me. Why did I, the whole thing, shoulda, coulda, woulda, blah, blah, blah situation. And that does happen. It happens when you get to the point of making the decision, hey, all right, I'm out here wilding out. I need to get myself together, and I'm gonna do better, and be better, and I'm not gonna look back. That's what I did. Again, after I had my, like, wilding out moment, I just said, "All right, well, that's enough of that," and I never looked back. And like I said, that was 3 years ago. But once you start making that decision to do better and be better and to heal and to grow, you start getting the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and, like, damn, why did I do that? And damn, I shouldn't have. And, I was stupid, and that, and like, the things that I thought to myself, and the way that I felt about myself, and the way that I talked to myself internally, was rough. It was bad, and I would, if I could tell you guys anything, it's to allow yourself to look back on your past versions of self with a lot of grace and a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding, that you did what you did so you could be the person that you are now. There are no mistakes. There are no reasons for you to be regretting what you did. Like, the point of the matter is that you did it, you learned, and you made the decision now. You're here right now making the decision to do better, to be better, to become better, to strive to become the highest version of yourself. And that's what matters. Like it's nothing that you need to continuously beat yourself up over. And there is no such thing of like being like, oh, I've done too much to change now, to heal now, to get better now. No, that's not it. It's never too late. It is never too late to change. It is never too late to do better. It is never too late to wanna be better and want better for yourself, for your life, for your career, for your health, for your soul, right? And again, the step 1 is, and this is so cliche, but literally having the self-awareness and acknowledgement of like, this is a problem. My behavior is not acceptable. My decisions are not acceptable. The way that I've been living is not acceptable. You know, understand the why. Why are you making these decisions? Why are you choosing to take these substances or to do whatever it is that you're doing? Like I said, most of the time it's the escapism. So if that comes back to you as that's your reason why you're doing the things, what is it that you're trying to escape from? And dig into that. It's not easy. It's not a very comfortable process, but it's necessary for you to move through and get to the next phase of doing the healing work for it. And that looks like I said, for me, it was a lot of acknowledging myself, doing a lot of inner child work because a lot of stuff happened throughout childhood or a lot of shadow work. My time in the abyss when I was turning up was beneficial for me in more than one way, like because I got to know my darkness. I got to know my shadow self. I got to know the part of me that was so repressed for so long that didn't have any self-expression, that wasn't allowed to be seen, that wasn't allowed to be outwardly presented. And that takes a toll. It comes back at some point, in your life when you have parts of yourself that you repress and you don't allow to shine or to come through. Like it starts showing, it starts affecting you in a lot of ways more than you think. And so I spent a lot of time doing a lot of shadow work. I spent a lot of time doing kind of a lot of kickboxing, a lot of boxing for my anger. And I journaled a lot. I wrote a lot of like sad poetry. And that's just me. Like in general, I have a lot of darkness that I transmute through poetry, through words, or through expression like this, turning the pain into power, turning your pain into gain. And I think that's a really healthy thing to do, is to find a way to put your pain and your suffering into something that is beautiful, some sort of creation, some sort of creative outlet, whether you dance it out, whether you sing it out, whether you paint it out, whether you write it out, whether you direct it out in a movie, whatever the case may be, you have to somehow find a way to use a creative outlet to alchemize and transmute your pain, your suffering, your anger, all of this that's been locked up. Because once you start acknowledging it, it's going to need to come out. But you have to allow it to come out in a healthy way. That's key. You need to find a healthy outlet for your emerging emotions. And when they start to come up, like don't dismiss them. Don't try to like stop yourself from crying, because you need to cry, you need to grieve, you need to be angry, you need to allow yourself to have these emotional outbursts. And again, like if you can write what it is that you're feeling. And like for me, it was really cathartic to burn whatever it was that I had written. So like if I just wanted to write like an angry thing, or if I was allowing my inner child to write something to like a teacher that pissed me off, or my parent that pissed me off, or my sibling that pissed me off, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it was that my inner child wanted to say but couldn't because I was a kid, I wrote it and then I would burn it. And it was so cathartic to be able to release that and watch it go up in flames, literally. And then that process really did, like, I I started looking at myself differently. I mean, there was a point in time, especially when I was coming off of medications, that I didn't look in the mirror because all I saw was like a monster, because I didn't know what I actually looked like from the medication. And so I avoided mirrors, but I will say mirror work is something that you should do only after you've done kind of the aforementioned things, because otherwise you can look in the mirror and it's all the stuff that you've repressed will be hitting you in the face. And again, like I said, I did it so you don't have to. I was doing that, and again, I was seeing nothing but like monsters, and it was like my angry shadow self was like screaming negative things at me because it was pissed off that I had ignored it for 20 years, you know? So it's really important to save doing mirror work for like after, I would say, like step 3 or 4, it's sometime down your healing journey before you start going in and like looking at yourself in the mirror and kind of just allowing yourself to have that time to rebuild a connection with the self. And then you can add in the layer of saying good things to yourself, one good thing every time you look in the mirror. Tell yourself, I forgive myself. I forgive you. Thank you for getting me to this point. Thank you for doing what it is that you did to protect me or to help me get to this point to survive. Thank you for keeping me alive. Thank you for doing these things, right? So, mirror work and adding these layers of, again, like I said, self talk to be able to help you rebuild your self worth. But like when I first started, it was very difficult for me to be like, is it okay for me to want better because of like I didn't make great decisions at one point in time? These thoughts will come up, but you gotta like, put that to the side with it. Like you are worthy of having good things and having a good life and having a life that's healthy and surrounded by good people and not partners that are abusing you or people that are abusing you. You deserve to be treated with respect and to be talked to like somebody who has feelings and emotions and a heart and a soul. You deserve to have a comfortable home. You deserve to have a nice car. You deserve to be making money. You deserve to be living in luxury and wealth and health and happiness, right? These are not things that are only awarded to people who are like so good and golden. Like nobody is perfect. Let me put it there. There is no perfect person. Let he without sin cast the first stone. There's not a single person out there that has done no wrong ever. And it's suspicious of people who like are like, oh, I have a squeaky clean past and I've never done anything wrong. Like really though, like suspect. It's suspect because it's not real. You come to earth to learn. You come to earth to grow. You come to earth to train. You come here for soul growth is an expansion. And that only happens through doing the trial and error, through making the quote unquote mistakes, through the lessons and the obstacles. That's what builds you. That's what creates growth. Those are the lessons, right? And without those things, you don't have any of the aforementioned. So please don't let your past decisions or past versions of self hold you back into a version that you know you've already outgrown, into a version that you no longer belong in, into a timeline and a frequency that you have already outgrown, right? Don't stay stuck just because you don't think that you deserve more. Don't stay stuck and keep making the same decisions over and over and over just because you don't think you're worthy of better or you're worthy of more just because of the things that you did in your past. At any point in time, every single day, you have the choice to evolve or repeat. Every single day. It's never too late. It's never too late. If you wake up today and you decide that you want to be better and you want to do better and you want better for yourself and then you have to make the commitment to yourself to do better and to start the healing and to never look back. Once you make that decision that you're going to heal, that you're going to grow, that you're going to change, that you're going to do better, be better, think better, act better, and have better, don't you ever look in that review mirror. Don't you ever go back to those old ways. Don't you ever go back to thinking the same way. Don't you ever go back to abandoning yourself for other people. Don't you ever go back to letting people talk crazy to you. Don't you ever go back to thinking that you have no self-worth, that your life has no meaning, that you hold no value, because that is not the case and that will never be the case regardless of what you've done. God's Lord's universe has forgiven me for everything, right? Like if the universe is able to forgive you, then you should be able to forgive yourself. And that's what it is. People always ask me like, "Oh, how did this, that, and the third?" Listen, man, like I'm here because I had the strength and the courage to keep going and I had help from the divine. That's it. It was me and the divine constantly. You know, your relationship with God within is what you have to hold near and dear to you as your anchor, your rock. You know, when things get rough for you, you know, I mean, there's nothing here on this physical planet that can keep you motivated and going more than your commitment to yourself, more than your commitment to doing better and being better and having better for your life. You have to do it for you. It can't be for somebody else. It can't be for something material. It has to be for you. It has to be for your soul. It has to be for the betterment of your life. It has to be because you want to be out of the abyss. And that's what I have for you guys. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you're able to find the light. I hope that you're able to get on the path of ascension and healing for you, for your growth. There's always redemption for those who seek it. And that's what I got. I'm not out here. I ain't no pastor now. Know that. Life is rough, but it's meant to teach you things, and your past is not supposed to be a constant life sentence. It's just a lesson. Those things are just lessons, and you got to be able to forgive yourself and move forward. Let it go. That's what I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful. And don't forget, you can book a recorded reading with me and apply to work one on one with me for whatever your needs may be. The New Earth Guidebook to Healing and Ascension is available on Amazon. Let me know. Do y'all like this coziness? To have whenever I wanna have, like, personal story time. You like this? You like this? Yeah, and that's what I got for you guys. See ya. B Squad.